Hello guys, and welcome to this video in F123 where I will show you a Hotlap around Baku, then the setup I use, and finally the race strategy. So let's jump right into the Hotlap. I'm gonna show you my fastest lap, and then after I'm gonna show you a much better sector 1 as I couldn't get a perfect lap. So I'll go through sector 1 fast here at the first lap and then break it down in the next one. And as you can see in my fastest lap, we are down 1/10 after just turn 1 and 2, so not a great start. And we never actually gained that again in sector 1. But now I will start breaking the lap down. So down 1.5 tenths, and then coming down to turn 7 you want to brake so early, around 80 meters out, and you do this so you can cut this one. Then coming down to the castle section to brake just before the 50 meter board, but carry a lot of speed into the corners, pushing the throttle in 3rd gear, and then just tap the brakes on top so you can get close to the wall and get a great angle for turn 12. Then just full throttle, and as you can see we gained a lot of time, now down to 0 almost, but coming down to turn 15 you want to hit the brakes just before the curbs on the right side, going down to 3rd, and just as you hit the apex you push the throttle. Coming down to turn 16 you want to brake after the 100 meter board, going down to 3rd, and start with the throttle just before the apex to get some great exit speed for the main straight. Then around these fast corners just get as close to the walls as possible without hitting them, of course. Then get the DRS on, and then that was a lap around Baku in the time 1:40.154, and now you're gonna see how good it could have been. But coming down to turn 1, brake around 125 meters out, going down to 3rd, watch out you don't mount this curb, and then on the exit you want to push the throttle. Down to turn 2, where you brake at this parking sign, or around 60 meters out. Going down to 2nd, shifting to 3rd, and then get the DRS on. So here we gain 1/10 already, but coming down to turn 3 you want to brake around 110 meters out, going down to 3rd, and then get as close to the wall as the curb is flat in this corner. Then pushing the throttle down to turn 4 where you brake just before the 50 meter board, going down to 2nd, and then hit the throttle at the apex. Coming into this part of the track you want to get the angle right, as that is what gains you time here. So brake around 75 meters out, going down to 2nd, and then getting as close to the wall, and just before these white stripes you start turning in. Pushing that throttle, and then you can see that we have gained over 3/10. So that was so sad we couldn't do this in the fast lap. I drove a lot of laps after but couldn't get a perfect lap. So our theoretical should be around 1:39.8, and I believe we even could do better than that. But let me show you my great setup. So this setup is very stable and fast in the corners, so it lags a bit on the straights. But for the aerodynamics we use 23 in the front and 19 on the rear. For transmission I use 58 and 51. Then for geometry it's all the way to the right for camber and all the way to the left for toe. Then the suspension is 20 and 4. 18-10 for anti-roll bar, and then 30 and 36 for ride height. Brakes are 155, and then the front size is 22.5 while the rears are 20.0. So that was the setup, and then let's jump right into the race strategy. So the strategy for this race is going to be medium hards, but maybe try the medium soft, as you gain so much time after the pit stops and the tires here lose a lot of grip. You can put around 26.0 laps of fuel or even underfuel your car, as you actually gain a little fuel. The race setup is another setup, as you want more speed on the straight. So for the aerodynamics we use 13 on the front and 15 on the rear. For transmission I use 55 and 50. Then for geometry it's all the way to the right for the front camber and all the way to the left for the rest. Then suspension is 25 and 16, 1/6 for anti-roll bar, and then 30 and 30 for ride height. Brakes are 155, and then the front size are 22.4 while the rears are 20.0. Then get some heat in the tires and hit the purple. We started P9, so we had a lot to do. We got a good start, and going into turn 1 I dived in on Leclerc, going on the inside, and then we got him down to turn 2, making us P6, so a great start. But then I wanted to show you a lap around Baku on high fuel, where you can see the tire temperatures. You actually brake around the same places as in the Hotlap when you're on new tires, so just do what you have practiced. So while you're watching my lap, I want to talk to you about what you need to be careful about in this race. So the rear tires are a lot hotter than the fronts, which means they also have a higher wear. And when the tires hit around 25% tire wear, you're gonna experience a lot of slippery moments where you are drifting. So that is very annoying, but I couldn't make a setup that deals with the tire problem and still being fast. So just have that in mind when driving, to be more careful in some turns For me it was especially turn 1, 2 and 16. The others were okay but not great. So just try to practice a lot where you also have high tire wear to get the feeling of the car. Then you will have the lap to yourself for the rest of the time. Then across the line and we got a 1:44.976 and the fastest lap time. So not great, but an okay lap time. The tire wear is around 3% on the fronts and 5 to 6% on the rears each lap on the medium compound. Then at the end of lap 11 I wanted to pit to make an undercut, as I was losing time on these tires. We had around 30% on the fronts and 52% on the rears, so a big difference between them. But coming into the pit lane you want to brake around here just before the 50-meter board, and then around these corners you just hit the throttle a bit to get a good pit entry. Then remember to turn in when it shows 0.5 to hit the purple, changing to hard, and then coming out of the pits the tires are actually not that cold, so you can push a bit more than you think. Then after 3 laps you have around 6 to 10% tire wear, so 2% on the fronts and 3 to 4% on the rears. But as you can see, our undercut strategy worked very well as we were up to P2. And at the end of last lap we were just a second ahead of the rest of the pack, so a decent race. Our tires were again around 30% on the front and 52% on the rears, so this strategy is okay. Just have in mind with the tire wear that makes you have 0 grip at some point. But our fuel load was plus 1.16 laps, so that was way too much, so use what I said at the beginning of the race. But then that was it from me. If you want more of this, please like and subscribe, and then I'll see you in the next one.